have a lump sum of money or will be getting a lump sum? Keep it liquid, safe, and earning tax-free returns using an IUL insurance policy. In this episode, I'm going to address why a Max Funded IUL can be the perfect repository for a lump sum transfer of capital. What's capital? Money. Get ready. You're going to gain insights into opportunities that maybe you didn't know existed before. So I'm Doug Andrew, and I've been a financial strategist and retirement planning specialist now for north of 48 years, helping people to optimize their assets, minimize taxes, empower their authentic wealth. And so I love to address questions that people have, as I have taught audiences now for more than 48 years across America. And a lot of times people are wondering, okay, I have a lump sum of money, or I'm going to be getting a lump sum of money coming from some source. Let's say it's a settlement from a car accident, or it might be an impending inheritance, or it could be a death benefit because someone where you were named the beneficiary passed away, and you're going to get a lump sum of capital. By the way, if it's coming from life insurance proceeds, it's tax-free. And I always tell widows or widowers, hey, you're getting this amount of money, a death benefit from life insurance, several $100,000 or $1 million. It's income tax-free. My first suggestion would be to keep it tax-free. Don't go put it in some investment and start generating tax implications. Keep it tax-free. And they go, well, how do I do that? By putting it right back into where it came from, insurance on the next oldest, healthiest family member, or you, okay? So you're going to gain insights as I continue to go here, but sometimes people are having an impending inheritance. They know that they are named as a beneficiary in an estate or a trust or life insurance, and that person is going downhill health-wise, and they have a terminal illness. And so they come oftentimes and they say, Doug, I'm going to be getting $500,000 or $1 million or $10 million here in the next year or two. I want to make sure that I'm prepared on what to do with that. Yes, I would recommend you keep it tax-free, because if it's coming from life insurance, it is income tax-free. Now, if we're talking about a settlement, a lot of times you will not have to pay tax on proceeds from a settlement, from a car accident or a lawsuit or what have you. You may simply be getting a lump sum because you've sold a business, or you sold a rental property that you were sick and tired of being the landlord, fixing toilets, taking out the trash, and evicting tenants. And so a lot of times we will have a lump sum of money, and we wonder, okay, what should I do with this money? Make sure that you keep it liquid and safe if you owe tax on that, or will be owing income tax on it on the tax year that happened in, as you file the tax returns the next year by April 15th. Okay. Once you understand that, you can then begin to structure a way to be able to accommodate a lump sum. Now, if you've watched very many of my educational videos, my favorite financial instrument by far to accumulate money tax-free and then be able to allow you to access that money totally income tax-free. And then later on, when you finally pass away, anything left in there blossoms, increases in value, and transfers tax-free, is a Max Funded insurance contract. And I prefer indexed universal life, because I have been able to average in excess of 9% rates of return for the last 40 years. It was the brainchild of E.F. Hutton clear back in 1980, and Universal Life came out, and then in 1997, Indexed Universal Life came out. And so I would like to have lump sums of money growing tax-free, not just tax-deferred. You can't put lump sums in an IRA or 401k unless it's a rollover, okay? And so people say, really, this sounds too good to be true. Now, if you put money into a max funded. That means you're taking the least amount of insurance that the IRS will let you get away with under 3 tax citations. TEFRA and DEFRA dictate the minimum amount of insurance based upon your age and your gender and your health, because the objective is to have tax-free accumulation for living benefits, far more than the death benefit. So you want to have the least amount of insurance that the IRS will let you get away with, so to speak, and be able to put in the most money that the IRS allows as fast as they allow. Now, that's TEFRA and DEFRA. Now, in 1988, they also passed a law, the Technical and Miscellaneous Revenue Act, which is the acronym TAMRA. So TAMRA basically says, okay, if you have a lump sum of money and you want to put it into an insurance contract to be able to have it be liquid and safe and earning tax-free rates of return, so that when you access the money while you're alive, if you want to access the money tax-free, you cannot put in all the money in one fell swoop ever since June 21st of 1988. You have to jump through the TAMRA hoop in addition to the TEFRA and DEFRA hoops. You have to have a certain amount of insurance, and you can only put in so much. So let's just use an example of a lump sum of $500,000. It could be a lump sum of $50,000. It could be $5 million. Let's say it's $500,000. If you wanted to comply with TAMRA so that you could access money income tax free, because if you put in $500,000 and it earns the rate of return that many of these have, like 9.6%, the rule of 72 tells us that 9.6 divided into 72, our money will double about every 7.5 years. So that 500,000 would double to $1 million in 7.5 years. $1 million would double to $2 million in another 7.5 years by the 15th year. And that $2 million would double to $4 million by the 22nd and a half year. And then that $4 million would double to $8 million by the end of 30 years, because it doubles every 7.5 years. That's pretty incredible. Well, you cannot put in that 500,000 in one fell swoop. If you want to be able to access that money at any point without triggering income tax on the gain, you have to spread it out. And so generally speaking, for older people over age 50, you have to spread it out over about 5 installments, 5 years. So using 500,000 as an example, you basically could put in about 100,000. Now, a specialist will help you understand exactly how much to the dollar. We're just going to use an approximate amount, about 20% a year. So 100,000 the first year, 100,000 the second, and then next third. And so you're up to 300,000 by the third year. It's actually the first day of the third year, and then 400,000, then 500,000. So it takes 5 years in order to comply with TAMRA. Now, it's grandfathered forever after to be tax-free when you start accessing income, or when it's doubled to $1 million or $2 million or and so forth. Whenever you take that out, it's totally income tax-free if you complied with TAMRA. Now, you don't have to do that. You could put in the lump sum. A lot of people aren't aware of this, but you could still throw in the full 500,000 in one fell swoop into a max funded index universal life policy, but you violated TAMRA. As long as you took the minimum death benefit under TEFRA and DEFRA, you're squeezing down the policy, but you're putting in the lump sum, which makes it grow right off the bat, because you've got 100% of your money growing from day one. What is the disadvantage? It becomes what is called a modified endowment contract, which spells the acronym MEC, okay? A MEC, you can perfect a MEC at the end of the first policy anniversary after you overfunded in excess of TAMRA by asking for a refund if you want to preserve the right to access money totally income tax-free, including the gain. But maybe that's not what you're worried about. Maybe you have this lump sum and you may not even think you need the money in your lifetime. And so what does it matter that you access it without triggering tax during your lifetime? Maybe you're more concerned about what it leaves behind, because you could take that lump sum and put it in 500,000, and the minimum death benefit for a 60-year-old might be a million, 1,200,000. And so you put in 500,000, and if you happen to die, it leaves behind $250,000, that's totally income tax free still. It's still tax free when you die. And as it grows, the death benefit will stay ahead of it. But if you happen to need money, you can still access the money, but now it's going to be taxable. And maybe that's not a big deal. Maybe you're not in that high of a tax bracket. And what would be the difference of putting it into any type of investment that's going to be taxable sooner or later? It's actually better than most because you're able to use indexing to participate when the market goes up and not lose when the market goes down, all the advantages of an IUL policy. And when you die, it blossoms and transfers income tax free. Most investments won't do that. So the only downside would be, well, it could have been tax free when you took money out, but you didn't care about that. So you might just go ahead and let it be a MEC, a modified endowment contract. It still accumulates tax deferred. You don't have to pay tax as it grows, only if you access money while you're alive. And at the end of the day, when you die, anything left in there increases, blossoms, and transfers income tax free. So it's tax free as it accumulates. It's tax free when you die. But if you start accessing money out of a MEC, you now have to pay tax. That may not be the end of the world because that's how most other investments are. Does that make sense? The point of this episode is to help you understand that you can bypass the banks, the credit unions, you can have greater liquidity, safety, predictable rates of return, and it can be tax deferred, maybe not totally tax free, if you have a lump sum of capital. If you want to comply with TAMRA and you have a lump sum, a professional will help you determine how you can fund it in compliance with TAMRA, so that if you started out with $500,000 in a lump sum, you would only put in maybe $100,000 a year for the 5 years, and then it's tax-free thereafter. And they could help you understand where you could maybe park that money or what have you while you're waiting to comply with TAMRA. The point is that a Max Funded IUL policy can be the perfect repository for a lump sum transfer of capital, no matter where it's coming from. And if you want to read some stories about this, I want you to claim your free copy of my most recent best-selling book. It's called The Laser Fund. It's actually 2 books in one. This side is about 200 pages, 14 chapters with all the charts and graphs and explanations of how to diversify and create the foundation for a tax-free retirement. If you learn more by stories and examples, you flip it over and read this one, which is about 100 pages, 12 chapters, and it has like 62 chicken soup for the financial soul stories of how the Laser Fund can be used for all kinds of goals, including lump sums. There's one chapter that just totally focuses on stories of people who had lump sums. Now, if you want to use your whole brain, read both. But here's how you can claim your free copy. Go to laserfund.com, Laser fund.com, or click on the link below. And you contribute a nominal amount towards the shipping and handling. I cover the rest of that. I fire out a book. I'll pay for the book. And then there's options there if you want to listen and learn, watch and learn. There's even ways to be able to join us for online educational webinars or even live events if we happen to be in your area. The point is this is about you and your brighter future.